I want to start today, though, with the question that actually is the title of my message today. And the question is this, and this is a rhetorical question. I'm not asking you to, yell out any answers. The question is this: what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And it's not a question that is meant to be proposed as offering any pressure, or I'm not trying to scold anybody. What are you waiting for? No, not scolding anybody. And it's not really meant even to be another spiritual assignment. Aren't you tired of spiritual assignments? I know I give an assignment at the completion of every message, but aren't you tired of spiritual assignments? No. Whenever I work with people, the idea that I really try to approach the work with is this, that I'm inviting people into invitations. So the question, what are you waiting for, is an invitation of consideration of what's really happening in your heart space, in your spiritual life. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Perhaps consider these. What are you waiting for to allow yourself to feel fully alive? Is there any place in your life where you're feeling less than? I know that I have felt that way in my life at times. What are we waiting for to allow ourselves to truly love ourselves unconditionally? I have placed conditions upon my own self-love at times in my life, and I refuse to do it any longer. What are we waiting for before we stop apologizing for our existence? I did that for a very long time. Apologized for my existence. What are we waiting for before we believe that we are worthy and beautiful? You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. That is foundation. That is a foundational idea behind the entire New Thought philosophy. I don't think Carole King was New Thought. But boy, that's a real New Thought kind of message. And it's not an idea, the idea is not that we get up and we fake it. It's around finding the joy and the love and the kindness within our hearts that invite us into that state of being as we awaken every single morning. Because if you find that joy within the self, then I believe we will automatically wake up every morning and allow ourselves to express through smiling and sharing that love in our heart. It's not about being performative, but letting that inherent beauty of divinity be revealed in us and through us in every aspect of our lives. The foundations of this philosophy are really God is all there is, divine presence, creative energy, whatever language you use to describe that ineffable aspect that is beyond the physical sensations that we have of our individualization. God is all there is. Divine power is all there is. There can be nothing separate from this infinite presence. We cannot be separate from this infinite presence. And so we are that which is. And so it's about finding that within the self and allowing that to be the manner in which we experience the world and are experienced in the world. Many approach life, and I can reflect on many times when I have done this. Many approach life as though they are broken. Broken and in need of repair. That was a lot of my teenage years. I think a lot of teenagers feel that way, feel broken and in need of repair. But I reflect on that a lot. If you think you need repair, here's what happens. If you think you need repair and you endeavor to walk a spiritual path, your initial impulse may be to approach that spiritual path as though you are a mechanic trying to manipulate and coerce and fix, trying to change the form of life. And that's not what the spiritual path is all about. The spiritual path is about stepping back, not trying to manipulate the form, but really addressing the inherent ideas, beliefs, thoughts, feelings that exist within to allow a fundamental transformation. We are not here to change the form. And I know we get a lot of we get a lot of people who are attracted to the New Thought philosophy because we kind of say, you change your thinking, you change your life, and they think, great, I get to change my life. And they forget it's all rooted in changing your thinking. It's like, oh, something gets to be different in my life? That's awesome. Yeah, but it's going to require that you endeavor to do the work in mind. That's what we're here to do. So what if the real work of this entire philosophy is as simple as this? We are here to awaken to our divinity and nothing else. When we light the healing candle, the language around that healing candle is that we light this candle as a representation of the revelation at the divinity of all experiences. And when we accept and adopt that there is divinity at the core of everything, whether we call it good or whether we call it bad, that what we experience is a fundamental healing. Because when we understand the God essence at the core of all creation, then what happens is creation flows forth according to our thoughts, our beliefs, our desires, our intentions, our feelings. We are here to awaken to our divinity. And I want to predicate this idea also with this, that there is nothing you can do. This is, by the way, from A Course in Miracles. There is nothing you can do, there is nothing you can think that would change your divine nature. If you feel that your divine nature has been transformed in any way, and you have the consciousness of being less than, there is actually, that's a misfire in mind. That's a misfire in the feeling space. It's a misfire, that's it. Because there is nothing you can do, nothing you can think that would change your divine nature. You are inherently divine. The core of your beingness, every aspect of your expression, your physical expression, your energetic expression, it is all God. It is all divine. It is absolute holiness. Nothing in your life has ever erased God from you. Nothing. Now, I could look at things and say, but what about that? Nope. Did not erase your inherent divinity. I could look at that thing over there. What about this? What about this challenge I faced over here? It did not erase your inherent divinity. Nothing can erase your inherent divinity. Nothing. You got it? Nothing. Fear did not erase your holiness. Confusion did not cancel your spiritual identity. Your past did not disqualify your future. The work is not actually to become divine. Sometimes it's phrased in ways that make us think, oh, I have to become divine. It is not about becoming divine. It's not even about becoming more divine. It is to stop arguing against the divinity that we already are. And we find lots of ways to argue against our divinity, don't we? So that really means stop affirming the worst ideas of ourselves. To stop, once and for all, affirming those worst ideas. Oh my gosh, I lived with that for so long. Sometimes those ideas that we affirm, when we affirm those terrible ideas, they show up as feelings of shame or guilt. Shame and guilt do nothing but make us feel diminished. They do nothing but make us feel smaller. And they are reflected as aspects in our relative world. But for me, shame and guilt only exist when I relate myself to the things in the relative world. They are not rooted in the core of my identity. because my divine identity can never be diminished, ever. But I've done a really good job of convincing myself that it's diminished when I'm rooted in the experience of shame and guilt. Shame and guilt can hypnotize us into obedience. What does he mean by that? Shame and guilt can convince us to such a deep degree that something is wrong, that we are broken, and we begin to think that we are unworthy unless we comply with a continued consciousness of shame and guilt. Because we've been taught that in our world. We have been culturalized into this. There is some aspect of shame and guilt that exists within our culture, and people support the idea of shame and guilt, and we adopt this idea that we must remain in shame and guilt because here's the thing, we actually get something from it. We get something from it. Oftentimes what we get is we get sympathy from others. And when we feel that sympathetic state of mind expressed by others, what ends up happening is we get that little feeling of being valued. Oh, they see me. But what they're seeing is a relative expression, because that's what we are putting forth. What if we adopted this frame of mind and this frame of being, that no matter what, we only accept being seen as divine and seeing others as divine? Growing up, I spent a lot of time trying to fit in, trying to mask my identity. It's inevitable in the community that I happen to be a part of that that's one of the things that we do, because we are immersed in a culture that says that identity is wrong. That identity, we've been told by some, is evil, it is sinful, it is not to be. And if you were living with that identity, then you are less than. I was basically taught that growing up. And so, without even realizing it, I was living in a consistent state of trauma because of what I was taking on from the outside and accepting. And what cured that for me was stepping forth and saying, no, this is who I am, and I will be unapologetic about it. I will be unapologetic about it. There's no reason for me to apologize for the truth of my being. And awakening invites us to take responsibility in our lives, to say, I am response-able in every moment. Every single moment, I am response-able. I know who I am, and I live it without apology any longer. Now, you can all probably infer what I'm talking about. But I want us all to consider the ways we were taught similar things when we were growing up that may have nothing to do with the identity I'm speaking about, because I think many of us have had similar experiences. And at some point, a decision had to be made to say, no, I will be unapologetic about who I am. And are you willing to live unapologetically as your divine self? Yes. And the rest of you? I know, I always say it's a rhetorical question, and then I joke, right? So awakening invites us into responsibility. Awakening also invites us to make amends when they are needed, and still, at all times, remember who we are. God is all there is. That is who and what we are. We are divinity itself. Too often, we have been told that shame and guilt are requirements to express humility. Right? True humility is not degradation. True humility is not lessening ourselves. It is not diminishing ourselves. True humility is seeing all creation, all life through a spiritual lens. True humility for me, as I have come to understand it, means this. I know who I am. I know that I am an expression of the divine, and I know that about you too. It puts us in a state of equity. Puts us in a state of equity. If I know the truth of my being, I must understand it and accept it about every single person I encounter, because all creation, all of it, 100% of it is divine. That's humility. Not diminishing myself, but allowing myself to exclaim the truth of my being and understand it about everyone and all creation. True humility says this: God is expressing as all of us. That doesn't shrink us, it equalizes us in love. So consider for just a moment, if that is perhaps a new way you are understanding the definition of humility. Consider for just a moment that old definition of humility where I must diminish myself. That's an old definition, right? What might you have delayed in your life rooted in that old definition of humility? What joy was postponed for you? What calling might have been ignored in that old definition? What forgiveness was withheld in that old definition? What love might you have refused to accept in that old definition of humility? Now turn it around. You are worthy of joy. You are worthy of living your calling. You are worthy of infinite forgiveness, and you are worthy of infinite love. At the end of this month, this is the final Sunday of the month, and we have a theme every month. The theme of this month has been awakening. And so at the end of this month of awakening, by the way, the awakening never ends. It's not just this month. It'll continue. But at the end of this month of putting our focus on the construct of awakening, remember that awakening is actually not something mystical. It is a daily choice to be awake. To be awake by telling the truth without attacking ourselves and without attacking others. To be awake by making amends without collapsing into shame. To be awake by being truly seen. Do you truly see yourself when you look in the mirror? Do you see the truth of your beingness? And are you willing to accept that truth for yourself and endeavor to see it in every single person you encounter? Irrespective of differences, irrespective of differences in ideology, differences in political ideas, differences in the way we experience and express our lives, are you willing to see and be truly seen in every aspect of your life? We must awaken to refusing the pain that we may have felt at one time as a proof of our sincerity in our experience and expression of life. We must awaken to treating ourselves and others as expressions and bearers of divine life itself. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Spirit isn't waiting. Spirit already said yes. You know how I know Spirit already said yes to your awakened expression and experience? Because you exist. You are here. Spirit said yes to you expressing in the here and now. So what are you waiting for? Your divine nature is whole, it is unchanged, and it is beautiful. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. And so, despite what I said earlier, here is the work. If you are new to the community, I offer a life practice every week, which is it is something that I offer that invites us to put into practice the message of the day. So the life practice today is this: if you find yourself being critical of yourself, pause and remember, my divine nature remains unchanged and infinite. And then proceed from that point of view. My divine nature remains unchanged and infinite. Just consider that idea. Consider that affirmation. My divine nature remains unchanged and infinite. That is the truth of your being. That's how I choose to see you, and I encourage us to see ourselves from that point of view and to see all creation from that point of view. That's the life practice I offer today.